2022 Honda Civic C First Drive, much more than nostalgia. Victoria Scott, November 30, 2021, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Every automaker in recent years has been keen to repackage our nostalgia for classic sports cars for a new generation. The resurgence in throwback styling, the revival of long-discontinued nameplates, the callbacks to brand heritage on and off the track, they all acknowledge that we miss the long-gone days of fun, affordable cars that could commute 5 days a week and carve canyons on the weekends. And with the Gen Xers that grew up idolizing the sports icons of the 80s finally possessing the cash or credit to dictate new model offerings, manufacturers at last have an incentive to bring back the days of yore. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. In an era of stringent crash standards, EPA requirements, and increasing expectations of comfort and roominess from consumers, though, it's rare that any of these nostalgia-laden models offer an experience that resembles their namesakes in anything but, well, name. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. So, when Honda brought out a third-generation Civic C, the very first C model ever produced, and parked it next to the brand-new 11th generation 2022 Civic C as inspiration illustration of the newest installment for the long-running platform, I was skeptical. I've been a fan of vintage Hondas ever since I got a driver's license. I drove an '88 Prelude C 2.0 to work every day for years. The attributes I love: the classic creations of Soichiro's company fork, the airy cabins, the light and tossable on-road demeanor, and the motors that adored revs, all seemed off the table with this newest Civic C, at least from a glance at its spec sheet. Advertising. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. After all, the 11th generation has gained 50 pounds over the outgoing model, putting it just shy of 3,000 pounds total. At the same time, it lost 5 horsepower, down to a flat 200 HP at the front wheels, and gained 1.4 inches in the wheelbase. Now nearly 108 inches, it's over a foot longer than the diminutive hatch from '87. And, although the displacement of the 22 is the same as its ancestor from '85 thanks to a 1.5-liter VTEC-equipped inline 4. Under the hood, it's now turbocharged, something that Honda had famously eschewed during their glory days of the 80s and 90s. Sum up these facts and it seemed like the newest iteration would be less like its ancestors than ever. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. Visually, at the very least, it is a return to form for Honda. The 11th generation Civic is vastly prettier than the outgoing model, with the boy racer tackiness of the 10th Gen C done away with in favor of strong, uncomplicated body lines and uncluttered bumpers. It might not be the most stunning sedan on the market, but it's undeniably handsome, and my test car finished in C-exclusive blazing pearl orange metallic paint was downright striking. Along with the new sheet metal, the interior has gotten the complete refresh it sorely needed, and the cabin is much better for it. All of the strengths of the newest base model Civic introduced earlier in the year are carried over to the C. The center stack has been decluttered and the standard 9 inches touchscreen is now vastly easier to use, and comes equipped with also standard wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. The stunning honeycomb vent trim bifurcating the dash is crisply emphasized with trademark C red accenting, and the seats are supremely comfortable, with hip and lower back bolstering taken straight from the 10th generation Type R as a bonus. The standard sound system, a 12-speaker Bose setup complete with a subwoofer, is by far the best you've ever heard in a car anywhere close to this price point. At a $27,300 base price plus $1,015 destination, with the only possible option being a $200 summer tire upgrade, it punches hard for its segment. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. But the attributes that would make the new Civic C truly a worthy successor to its diminutive hatch ancestors won't show up on a spec sheet or options list. After all, the original C made do with a 91 horsepower single-cam 4-cylinder engine, and it was enough to start one of the most beloved affordable sports car lines in automotive history. It captured hearts for reasons far beyond raw power or driver amenity checkboxes ticked. So, to put the newest model to the test, Honda tossed me the keys to the pictured bright orange sedan and aimed me at some of the finest roads weaving through the hills of Malibu. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. I was incredibly pleased to find that, in motion along routes that even supercar owners covet, the newest C came together with a lively joy and easy-to-fling demeanor that brought me right back to those heady days of early Honda sports coupes. That redesigned cabin isn't just packed with amenities, it's designed to allow for as much greenhouse visibility as possible. The narrow, pushed-forward pillars allow for some of the best sight lines I've ever witnessed in a car. That still needs to pass a roof crush test. Hairpin apexes were easy to spot without any of the unfortunate torso bob and weave routines that some modern cars require, due to their chunky pillars, and the downright airiness of the cockpit brought me back to my days of freeway off-ramps in my old Lude. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. But it got her. Leaning onto the throttle out of those hairpins felt truer to the quintessential Honda experience than its engineers have ever achieved. With a turbocharged motor before, the 200 HP four-cylinder is no longer naturally aspirated, no, but Honda has taken pains to flatten the turbocharged peaks of the torque curve so that all 192 pound-feet it can deliver are on tap from a mere 1,800 RPM, then stick around all the way to 5,000. Horsepower doesn't climax until 6,000 RPM, and, as a result, the Civic kicks early and pulls hard all the way to its 6,500 RPM redline. Even when I dip way down into the revs for exceptionally tight corners, it never felt like it was lugging its way back towards peak boost. It's the traditional torque curve. Vintage VTEC votaries adore. Floor it early, and let it rocket till the reverend limiter beckons. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. Not that having to downshift would be anything to decry, mind you. Honda has ensured that the newest C still leads the front-wheel drive market in transmission. Feel, the Civic C, as always, only comes equipped with a 6-speed manual transmission, and it is a delight in the way Honda's best 3-pedal units should be. Crisp short throws with extremely easy-to-find gating made rowing through the gearbox a joy, and with the 22C, rev matching comes standard. Even when I had to throw down one more gear, the Civic handled blipping the throttle for me without complaint. It did occasionally lead to a bit more rev hang. Tiny would prefer, but it was nothing intrusive enough to interrupt my bliss as I wound through curve-etched canyons in Southern California. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. No matter how hard I pushed the C, it eagerly devoured the blacktop. Honda has done away with the adaptive dampers of the previous generation, deciding instead to simply put stiffer springs, a stronger torsion bar, and more structural rigidity into the newest Civic, and the handling is outstanding as a result. The steering feels weighty without losing an ounce of road feel. The chassis is so brilliantly communicative, it could have a job in public relations. Whether it's the beautifully bolstered seats, the fantastic steering, or the steel girder stiffness of the chassis, no matter, driving the newest Civic felt like wearing it. The center of rotation simply felt like it was my hips, and the entire car was orbiting around me. Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. As I wrung it out relentlessly through the hills and got the summer tire option Goodyear Eagle F1s warmed up to temp, I could feel the sidewalls flexing before the car would break traction. When the Honda finally did begin to skitter across the pavement, it did so with complete poise and extremely neutral demeanor, with just a hint of understeer on the tightest corners that was easy to correct by letting off the throttle. It was sublime at the limit because it would warn me long before any real danger on keep me from doing anything too stupid. It just was having fun right along with me. The dirty secret of reviewing, though, is that nearly any car is fun to review at the ragged edge of its limits. What's more incredible is when a car can make a pleasure cruise feel engaging. After my pulse-pounding romp, I laid back, blasted that ample Bose system, and made my way up the coast of California, and the Civic C was still unrivaled amounts of fun. At the time, I couldn't pin it down to any specific factor. Was it the comfortable interior? Maybe it was that eager drivetrain thrilled to race up to redline? Perhaps the compelling steering feel? Image, Victoria Scott /Gear. And then it clicked. This was what Honda was hoping to harken back to. The new Civic comes together with a grace that sparks wistful memories of my prelude from all those years ago. Honda's machines of the 80s were not parking lot heroes with the statistical provenance to win arguments. Curved weight torque curves, 0 to 60 times, those are irrelevant data in this context. Its finest cars have always been cohesive experiences that are far more than the sum of their parts. Honda's best cars have always been fun at 30 miles per hour dawdling through traffic or 65 attacking corners like the Senna of the streets, and the newest Civic carries on that tradition. With one of the most fun driving experiences a modern car can offer, at any speed. Topics. First drive Honda. Must-read bits.